All right, hello everyone, Mr. Sunshine, Rolls-Royce technician Eddy coming back to you live, and here we have a completed unit right here. This is completely done, rebuilt inside and out, and as you can see how beautiful it is. This is actually done. We're actually going to go ahead and put this aside. We're going to go ahead. We have one more to do, so why don't we go ahead and get started on it. This is the bobbin here. We got it all cleaned. It's cleaned inside out. We polished everything. We blew it all out. We blew everything out inside out. You can see it's all cleaned all the way out throughout the entire thing. So why don't we go ahead and get started on this. First thing we're going to do, we got the bobbin done. You can see the holes down in there. We're going to show you exactly what we have to do. Now we have some O-rings here. The O-rings are going to get stuck here. We got to put them, slide them on here. Just like that. We're going to go ahead and there's 3 of them that belong on here. So we'll go ahead and slide these on. They're a little stiff because they're brand new. And then we got to be careful we don't dig into them. We use a little screwdriver. And we'll go ahead and push them right over into the position as you can see there. Now the reason we're doing this video is because the owner of this will actually be able to see it. I will actually put it on YouTube, so that along with a special number that he knows, because we're doing so many of them here today, he'll know which ones are his. These are the older model, just like that. There you go. We have to put that over to the next one. We'll get that just like this. Now you normally would probably never see this because normally they're done they were done in Rolls-Royce, a factory in Crewe. So there we go. We have the 3 on. You got to make sure that the plastic is on the back side of that. So now we're going to go ahead and install the pin. This is the bobbin pin. It goes right down in there. We slide. I already replaced. There's a black gasket or O-ring, and then the white O-ring here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide that down inside, just like this, to make sure that that goes in just like that. You can see it's a very, very tight fit. And you can go ahead and just slide that down. You can see it comes back up the other end. What it normally does, it hits this ball bearing here inside, and that's what gives you your pressure in there. So we're going to leave that flat. We then have our little, here's our little valve. This is our bypass blow valve. I replaced the little nylon tip on the end of that. That will slide right down in there. It's like a very fine machine. They see that? And it goes right down there. Look at that. Look at that. Right into there. It's a perfect fit. Everything is a perfect fit here on a Rolls-Royce, and then you got to put the spring in. If you don't put that spring in, it's not going to be able to blow back down when the pressure comes in. We then are going to use you see this? Here's the old one. You can see how the center and this spot right there, that was where the spring was being tortured for 40 years, and the center one is where the bobbin was popping up. So we're not going to use that. A lot of other guys, see, you never know. That's why I do a video. You take the old one, we throw the old one out. We're going to use a brand new one. And a brand new one, so look at that. Precision fit right down into there. All right, so we'll set that aside. We now have to take this piece. All right, now they really thought this out because these pieces are used to be able to reassemble it. You would never know what that hole is for unless you were watching my video or you've done them before. All right, so now we have the O-ring in there, and then that's going to slide right down into that. Nice tight fit. It's got an O-ring on there. You can see how it's sticking up just like that. There you go. So you have a complete bobbin with the pin in there, the bypass valve, and the spring. So now what we need to do is we're going to take this, and what we have to do now is install, where is it at? Right here. This is the bottom of the mount. It goes in here, and that's what the spring rides on. You see how that goes? On this particular model, they had 2 shims in there. All right, what they did was they took up the tolerance with what was at its spec at the factory, and they put the shims in there. So this one's actually going to have a lot of high pressure. This is going to really go with that extra thing in here. So you're going to make sure we drop that down in, and you got to make sure it goes in the proper way, because once you drop it down, it might flip this way, but you got to pay attention. You can see it's completely cleaned in there. We actually ran a Dremel in there to clean it all out. No scoring, no scarring, because the rubber O-rings are going to ride up and down there millions of times in and out of this brake pump. We go ahead and set that down in there. We'll set this in. There it is, like that. We're going to put our 2 shims down in there. Shims drop right in. You put the spring down in there, just like that. And then you're going to put, now, here's another thing. You'd never know this unless you were watching what I'm doing. This is one of the old ones that were in there. Now, this ball bearing, that's this hardened steel ball bearing right there, all right, is what that pin that's in the center of that bobbin hits on. Now, this thing has been hit millions of times, right? Millions. All right, back and forth, up and down, boom, 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 for 40 years or 50 years, depending on what year you bought your Rolls Royce. All right, and if you can see that hardened steel ball bearing, right, it's flat. It's got a flat spot on it. All right, maybe a thousandths, maybe a 2,000ths. All right, so what we do, we put a brand new one in there. Look at that. That's a brand new one. There it is. That holds the spring on that side, and that's going to hold right here. So that little bit, that worn out pin right there, and I've seen them flattened out pretty good. This one's not too bad. All right, this one over here, depends on how many miles are on it. This one actually is, you can still see it's a little flattened out. All right, hardened ball bearings to get flattened out like that after 50 years of getting pounded in there. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and stick that down in there. You see that now? There you go. You have it all set up there. And now we're going to take our completed bobbin, all right, and we're going to slide that down in there. It's a tight fit. It's going to just barely go in there. You got to really push that in there, all right? And now it's up against that spring. It's actually like a spring off of a valve, valve head off of an automobile. You're not going to be able to squeeze that down. And that's where they come in with this hole. All right, a lot of people don't know this. The reason Rolls-Royce, they thought everything out on these vehicles. The reason they put that in is because and the hole here, okay, this is the cap that holds it all together. If they didn't have that hole, there would be no way you could compress that down in there in order to get this machine screwed inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this. It's a little secret. A lot of people don't know this. All right, you take a screw. This is a fine machine screw, and you screw it in. It's got to be a round head, all right, just like that, as you can see. And then we're going to take this. That's right, and that drops right down on there. So now you're probably wondering, now what the hell are you going to do now? What we're going to do now is we're going to, well, I got to see if I can turn this around here. It's going to be a little difficult. What we're going to do now is we're going to put it in a vise. We're going to put this whole unit in a vise, and we're going to compress it from the screw in to the thing. Once we screw this in, it's going to compress that spring in there enough for me to start turning this, and we're going to get it screwed in. So it's a little hard. I don't have Leo the Lion decided he slept in today. He's still out. He's probably still sleeping. He should have been here to hold the camera, but naturally he's not here. So I'm going to just have to move it over here to the vise. I'm going to compress this, and then I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. So we're going to open the vise up. And, again, I should have a GoPro or something on my head, or somebody reliable that could come down here and do the videos while I'm filming this. It'd be a little bit more exciting to see exactly how some of this goes together. But all you basically do, you put it in a vise, and you go ahead and you compress it. And now what we're doing is we're compressing the spring and the bobbin into the assembly, and I'm going to get it screwed in there enough so that I can screw, and I'll show you this in just a minute. Come on, get yourself in there. It's got to screw in a little bit farther. What's the problem here? A little bit more. Oh, there it is. Okay, we have to screw it in a little bit. Crank it in there a little bit farther to get the thread started. So let me show you now. All right, out of the vise, and here it is. Okay, now you see that? We had to compress this in order to get this in. Now you can go ahead and remove this screw, all right, because you're not going to, that was merely to compress that unit. You see the hole right down in here? So now what you're going to do is you're going to put, we have a special tool. This is a 1-inch piece of stock metal that fits that hole right there, okay? You see how that fits right into there? And then what we're going to do, stick it in there, and we're going to go ahead and put it back in the vise with a socket wrench, and we have the socket. We're going to crank this thing down, all right? We're going to crank it down nice and tight, and it'll be ready to go. So there it is. Another accumulator. This one is completed here. We finished this one. That one's done. This one's going to be done here as soon as I crank this in. We will then go ahead and put these together. I want to show you how those are going to go together here in just a minute. These are the old parts. Now we're going to keep this. This is very important to keep. We're going to keep the wave washers. This is old. We're going to throw that out. We're going to throw that out. We're going to put this aside. That was the old one we took out. This is old. This is old. You can see how it was worn out after 50 years. This, our tool, we're going to keep that. Our two valves here are return wire lows, and then our stuff here, and then the caps that go on the accumulators, which we're going to be rebuilding those here next. And then we're going to go ahead and finish putting these brake switches together so we can show you exactly what that's all about. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in a vise. We're going to crank it down. As a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. You got to have a big vise in order to work on this kind of stuff, and you better have the right tools. And now, I'm not going to put this directly in a vise. We're going to wrap it, okay? We're going to wrap the wrapper here, all right, because I don't want to get a bunch of scuffs on it, because right now that is, Anthony DeAngelis, that right there, my friend, is not silver paint. That is not silver paint. That is polished and then detailed with a Dremel right down to the bare metal. So we polished just like that. I went over the whole thing. After we got it off of the other buffer, we went ahead and we took that all down, all right, and we polished the entire thing. So that is not silver paint. That is the polished metal from the Rolls-Royce factory from 50 years ago, rejuvenated back to brand new. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the vise right now. Anthony DeAngelo, if I had you here, you could be my assistant here. We got to pop open a few more brake accumulators tonight. So I got to get these done. The client wants those things. So we're going to be shipping those out here. I'll have them done tonight. I don't care if I have to be here all night. It has to be done. So there ain't no 9 to 5 going on down here. So I'm going to go ahead and crank this down to the point where it's nice and tight. And let's get that down in there. There we go. This is the type of wrench we have to use, a big one. I actually have a 4-footer. I have a 4-foot breaker bar, snap-on and Matco that we use to crank those things down. And then we have the big snap-on torque wrench that'll go to 600 pounds per square inch that we have to tighten the accumulators down to 300 PSI before we fill it with 1,200 PSI of nitrogen. So here we go. We're going to pull this out. And as we take it out, there it is. My client can now see without question it is done inside out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull this out. All right, and there you have it. 2 completed Rolls-Royce brake valves. The accumulators will get screwed on. That's what this O-ring is for. It sits on the O-ring, and then it screws down onto this. So there it is. I'm going to do another video of the brake. I got to put the brake switches together over here, and this way he'll know. You can see, as a matter of fact, what I can do for that while we're still doing the video, so I don't have to shut it down. We'll just go ahead and put these together as well. So we're going to go ahead and get the spring. Spring goes in here as such. Matter of fact, where's that other spring? Yeah, that's clean. We're going to put that in. We're going to go ahead and put that on. That goes on there just like that. We then go ahead. This is our piece here. That sits on there like that. And then this is going to get screwed on right down onto here as such. So we have the spring in there, set just like that. We're going to go ahead and crimp that together as such. This is the brake pressure switch. This is the switch in here that if the 1200 PSI leaked out, and that's why they send them to me. Once the pressure leaks out, this will set it off, and then the red light on your dashboard, brake light 1 and brake light 2 will come on, and then that will be the problem. So with this being totally rebuilt, and once we plug it back in, they hook it up, they turn it on. These brake pumps right here, one here, we're actually going to take those apart. I got to do a video for that for the client that owns this Rolls-Royce. And we're going to go ahead and show you how we're going to rebuild those a little bit later into the evening hours. So there it is. I hope you're all sitting there. Mr. Sunshine, Rolls-Royce Technician Eddy, coming to you live right here in sunny South Florida. Thank you for watching.